Hi, and welcome back to ENTP Live. In today's video, I'm going over exactly why I'm leaving the United States on a semi-permanent basis. Now, I want to give you a little bit of backstory as to when I decided that I was going to be leaving the United States, because it came from a travel experience. So back in 2011, I went to Thailand for the first time. And in Thailand is where I actually saw for the first time that the US dollar goes so much further outside of obviously the United States, but some of the typical regions that Americans travel to, like Mexico or the Caribbean. Usually you will see that things cost about the same when you're in like a tourist zone as it would in the United States. Like a beer costs the same and food costs the same. But when I went to Thailand, I saw how far the dollar goes. Here's an example. So for instance, at any street food cart in Bangkok, you can find whatever you would find in a US Thai restaurant. Pad Thai, curry, fried fish, whatever it is, you'll find it at a street cart vendor. Okay, or a street food cart. And the price of Pad Thai, like a shrimp Pad Thai, in the United States is going to run you anywhere from, on the low end, $8 to $12 at most Thai restaurants. In Bangkok, it will cost you anywhere between 40 and 60 baht. And the exchange rate, or maybe as high as 80, but that's really pushing it. And the exchange rate is 40 baht to $1. So you can grab a full dinner for $1 in Thailand. Now, right now, I am in Buzios, Brazil, and Buzios is in Rio, the state of Rio, but it's about three or 4 hours east of Copacabana and the main tourist area. And I think that most countries in general just have a better understanding of like the meaning of life, right? And the meaning of life is to enjoy yourself, reproduce, survive, and just take in the nature and what we have around us, rather than just being in this rat race of working. And when I was back in Thailand, I saw the same. And I was like, what the hell am I doing in the United States? You know, getting 4 weeks of vacation off. I was working at the time in the hospital scene while still investing in real estate. But the majority of my income was coming from working healthcare. And I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I killing myself just to earn money and buy things and, you know, live this very mundane, routine lifestyle, when there's so much in the world to experience and so much in the world to see, while people outside of the United States have this mindset that happiness comes first, family comes first. And that was something that was honestly missing in my life for a long time. And it was at that point that I was in Thailand that I decided I'm going to leave the United States. Now, check this out. Here's my morning view, right? Today is what? Monday, July 1st. Everything at my company is running fairly well. I own a home healthcare agency, so that's a 400 employee operation. Everything is running well. That produces income for me, of course, in addition to my real estate holdings. But check this out. Here's my Monday morning view. Look at this. Awesome. And forgive me if the pan is a little shaky, because this is a rinky-dink tripod that I use for travel. Okay, let me get this back in focus there. Yeah. And I get to wake up to this, and I should be waking up to this every damn day, rather than, you know, waking up to the sound of you know, pigeons rattling over your apartment in New York City. But either way, that just gives you a sense of what you see once you leave the damn States. So it was the same in Thailand. Thailand is gorgeous, and the people are nice, the food is amazing. and everything is so much more affordable. And it was at that point when I was there that I decided, hey, let me really look into what is it going to take for me to live a happy life outside of the United States. How much money do I need to make? How much do things really cost? What's the cost of housing? What's the cost of living, right, compared to the cost of living in the United States? Now, I think as a single adult, you can live just about anywhere in the world for $3,500 a month. I think that will afford you an apartment in most cities, as well as food, cell phone, entertainment money, etc. And that, I think, is a lot of money, because that's gonna allow you to live in New York City. And I know some of you in New York are like, I can't live on $3,500 a month. Yes, you can. You can move to Queens or into the Bronx or even into Long Island. Rent's gonna run you what, any 1,600, and then you have $2,000 for the rest of the month to spend. So 3,500 is totally doable. I know in Paris you can rent apartments for like $800-900 a studio. London the same, Tokyo the same. So you look at these major economic cities in the world, and $3,500 will cut it there. But in just about 80% of the world, you'll be able to live that same lifestyle in a better neighborhood, better apartment, for just about $1,500 a month. So when I started looking around in Thailand while I was on vacation, started looking at what's the cost of a condo. Now, you could get a condo in Bangkok or Phuket at the time. This was 2011. I saw them selling for the equivalent of 90,000 to 120,000 USD. And the rental rates were anywhere between $500 and $800 a month. And this is for a newer development, nice part of town, something comparable to a nicer development in the United States was going anywhere from $500 to $800 a month, and that was from a studio to about a 2-bedroom, right? Food cost in Thailand, like I said, lunch, dinner, breakfast, if you ate out every single meal, shouldn't cost you more than $6 a day. If you're going to be drinking beer, it's going to bump it up to about $10 a day. So if you're paying $10 a day for your food, and that's going to run you $300 max, and you're paying $500 for your home, you're at $800. The other $700 is going to be whatever your form of entertainment is. And in a lot of these places, there's like Thailand or Medellin, Colombia, Miraflores, Peru. I'll list off a couple more places that you could do it for. There's a lot of outdoor activities and outdoor entertainment that is totally free. You'll find fairs popping up just about anywhere where people are dancing, drinking, having a good time, and you're looking at minimal cost. So in Brazil, for instance, where I am now, you can go catch a street party in, I guess in the city adjacent to Copacabana, right? I don't know the name of the city, but let's just say you're in Copacabana, the tourist zone. About a 10-minute cab ride, you could catch a street fair that's popping, and people dancing in the street. Obviously, there's no cover charge, and there'll be like these little stands of people selling booze, right? Either they're selling beer or they're selling caipirinhas or whatever the case may be, and you'll be able to buy a caipirinha that's like 20 ounces for 5 reais. And the exchange rate of reais to dollars is about 3.3, let's just say 3.5. So it's about 3.5 reais to $1. So you're talking about a drink is going to run you what? 5 reais is going to run you what? Let's just call it $1.50, right? And this is enough that's going to get you going. Now, back to like kind of the whole thinking of it. It's like at the time in 2011. I had a few rental properties, and I saw that just on the profits on those rental properties, I was able to actually just retire in a country similar to Thailand. And I think at the time I might have been cash flowing like $1,800 or $1,900 on real estate. And I was like, well, this is enough for me to do it. And then I started thinking of other ways to kind of hack my life, where when I was working as a X-ray CT technologist. And I was able to work per diem. Like I could go load up double shifts, maybe 3-4 days in a row, and walk away with like a weekly check of 12 or 1,500 bucks by just working on that level. And then right there in one weekend or a 4-day stretch, I would be able to also afford living out the country for the rest of the month. However, came the cost of flights. So I think, okay, well, if I went back and forth every single month to Thailand, that's going to be like $1,000 ticket. And I worked my 4 or 5 days per diem, and that would be it. So how could I achieve both, right? How could I afford my plane tickets and my cost of living if I was going to be flying, a $1,000 flight every month? Between the rental property and working per diem that way, I could have done it. But at the time I was in a relationship, and obviously I couldn't just leave the relationship and start this nomad life. So I was just like, all right, you know what? I need to make even more money, because if I earn more, then I could afford this lifestyle with my partner. And instead of it being $1,500 a month, let me get to $3,000 a month passive, or $4,000 a month passive, because then we could pretty much live anywhere. So then that became my next goal, right? All right, how do I make $4,000 a month passively? I was like, well, the most consistent thing for me had always been real estate and working in healthcare. And I was like, well, if I'm going to push to make more and more passive money, then I need to be working in healthcare in a way that is going to allow me to generate my income off of other people, right? Which was at the time a staffing agency, and real estate, right? But the thing that was difficult for me was that I had already used the FHA 203K loan. My girlfriend also, so we had 2 properties that way, and there was nothing else. I didn't have an option at the time. It was before I found hard money and was able to start utilizing that to really start building my pool of properties. So I started thinking, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? How can we do it? So I started a shared office space, right? Because I was renting space in a building, or actually she was renting space in a building that was poorly managed. And I started thinking, well, how could I replicate this system? Because it was just a warehouse that was divided into rooms, and there was like 40 rooms on the floor, and each person was paying $600 a month. And then when I looked at how much, a space like that, a raw space like that in that neighborhood that was Long Island City, Queens, if I were to get warehouse space, how much would it cost me to kind of have the same size? And at the time, it was costing anywhere between $5,000 and $8,000 a month. And I was like, well, if we build out this 5,000 square foot space, with each office being around 200 square feet, I could get about 25 offices out of that, renting them at $600 a month. You do the math. I guess that's what, 18, 21. I don't know what the math is on that. I guess a little bit over 12,000 per month would be rental income. And I was like, all right, and if it's costing $5,000 to $8,000 a month in rent, bam, there goes the spread. So I started going into that direction to do shared office space. And then I realized that the build out for this shared office space would be, again, more than I would want to pay. So I started to think, how can I achieve the same rental rates but less of a build out? And then I went into investing in shared office space in Manhattan, because what I found was that I could charge double the monthly rent in Manhattan, but guess what? I could get less space, and the build out was going to be less because it's less space to build out. So that's where Solar Spaces started. Now, Solar Spaces is a affordable shared office space, kind of following the executive suites model, What we provide is a 150 square foot space on average, with 2 desks, 2 chairs, internet, printer, fax, copier, receptionist, meeting room, free coffee, stuff like that. And that's where that started. So first it was a small office with 12 offices that we could rent out for $1,000 a piece, average. And then we expanded and now have over 40 offices like that. And that whips off, a pretty good amount of rent every single month. And at the same time is where I started to find hard money and was able to start picking up some of the foreclosure properties, and slowly kept building that way. And parallel to that was the home care business that was starting to grow and develop as well, and that is now doing, I guess, about $1 million a month in rev, and is a pretty stable business. Not the most profitable business because it's a very low margin business, but once you're doing numbers in the millions of revenue per month, you're able to get way more leverage. You're able to borrow money easily, and it gives you major experience with how to run an organization. So, that's where I am now, and because I've been able to kind of create these streams of revenue, all from the idea of how the hell am I going to get out the USA. It really taught me lessons. Like anything that I put my mind to, I can do it, as long as I'm working towards it and thinking about it. Because when I started with the idea, I was making only $1,800 a month passively, and I already saw that there was a pathway to that. I could have worked 4 days per diem and had my property spinning off $1,800 a month, and I could have abandoned the United States and been retired at how old was I then? 30? I would have been retired at 30, living an international life, right? Flying back and forth just to work a little bit, earn my money, etc. And if somebody wanted to follow that exact formula right now, they could. For example, so you're watching this and you're like, you know what? I'm tired of living in the USA, and I think that I want to, move to South America, right? Now, if you're living in South America, I would say just about every country you can do it on that $1,500 mark or even less. I know there's some dude who's living in Colombia right now in Medellin, and he's only spending $700 to $800 a month. I'm going to try to find his YouTube page and link it so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. What is the cost of living in another country? So anyway, you're going to move to South America. You're I don't know what you do for a living, but let's just say you're open to going back to school and securing another profession. There are multiple 2-year programs in healthcare that when you're done, you'll easily make $70,000 to $80,000 a year. You could take a 2-year nursing program, which will get you started there. You could take a 2-year X-ray technologist program. You can take a 2-year respiratory therapist program. Now, all of those positions are required 24 hours a day, right? So nurses work day shifts and night shifts, respiratory therapists work day shifts and night shifts, and X-ray techs work day shift, mid shift, night shift as well. So if you were to take 2 years of your time, went back to school, you would be able to secure one of these professions that pays you $60,000 to $80,000 a year and gives you some flexibility in what you can do as far as shift work is concerned. All of them are understaffed. All of them have, you go to hospitals, you'll always see these per diem jobs posted. And these per diem jobs pay more and give you less headache, right? So you can literally sign up for a few hospitals, plan your own schedule for the month, and decide that, hey, you know what? In 1 week, I'm going to work 16-hour days for 7 days, right? Which is, almost the equivalent of working a full month, right? Because you're working 16 by 7, that's 104 hours. You can bang out 104 hours in 1 week, cop a plane ticket, see you later for the next 3 weeks, and live in another country, and that is totally doable. Now, let's just say you did that, and you're like, you know what? I kind of want to stop traveling back and forth to just work. I want to get myself to the point of not having to go back and work in that suicide week like that. Then you could start looking at purchasing some real estate, right? You can buy something here's a hack that you could do, right? So you could buy a property, like a 2 to 3 family, somewhere in the United States where rents are high. So I would say New York or outside of like New York City, because that's going to be kind of pricey. But let's just say you bought something in Upper New York or in Long Island. 3.5% down, you have that as your primary home. And if it's a 3-unit, chances are you could probably average around $1,500 per unit. And there's homes like this that you could buy for around $200,000, $300,000. I actually have my partner in the home care business bought a 3-family home for $115,000, and each apartment rents for $800. So that's $2,400 on like a $1,000 loan payment. So 3.5% on 115K is only 5 G's. So if you spent $5,000 and you were able to produce, a little over $1,000 in cash flow, to me that's a win. Now you do that 2 or 3 more times. You can only do the 2 or 3K once, but you might be able to do a conventional loan at 5% the following year, and then one other year another one, and then you'd be at $3,000 per month, right? With the same thing, and investing somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 total, let's just say, with fees and everything else, and you'd have it right there. So that's what I just gave you is a 5-year map to how you can legitimately retire anywhere in the U.S., right? Like I said, you go to school for 2 years, get your profession that's paying you 60 to 80, you work that career, buy a home, right? A multifamily home that when it's rented out will cash flow. You live in one of the units, rent out the others, move on, do that to another house and then another house. After you have 3 of them, spitting off about $1,000 a month, you are done. And you could literally do that in 5 years. So if you have some questions or comments or whatever, leave them in the comment section below, because I can explain that to you further in another video, or even like draw it out, or to give you a better sense of what I'm talking about. This is just me kind of vlogging and ranting about what it is that I'm thinking on this Monday morning here in Brazil. So as for me, the reasons why I'm leaving the United States is, like I said, I noticed that there's an increase in value, in quality of life. I also noticed that I wasn't experiencing racism. I don't really like to talk about race too much, but racism is something that actually does exist in the United States, even though we've made a lot of progress in how we are as a nation. Racism is very much still part of our social structure. It's not as blatant and direct as it used to be, but the effects are still there on the psyches of everybody. I remember I was in North Carolina a few months back, and I was watching the news, and the first 5 news stories all were stories about violent crimes, and all of the perpetrators of these crimes were black men. And I was like, there's no way that the only crime that occurred in this city in North Carolina was black people. No way. It's impossible. And I was like, but if you look at that, why is the media covering it in that way, and why is this the news that they decide to share? There's got to be some sort of good news that you can report. Why do you have to show 5 stories in a row featuring black men as rapists, arsonists, shooters, and a car thief? I forgot what the other one was, but that's what the lineup was. And I was like, this is nuts, right? I was like, why would any program start off this way? It's like a horrible way to start the day. To start your programming is just to show that the world is dark and full of terrors, and the people who are causing the terror are blacks. And that's something that you may not notice in your everyday life, but pay attention to how information is presented. And if that's the case, and you're seeing that messaging every single day, you start to believe that it's only blacks who are out there committing the crimes. As a black person, as someone who's not black, and you start to form this mindset of this is what's expected of me as a black, or this is what's expected of the blacks. And you don't see that in other countries with the same uh, effect. It's just not that way. And once I started to see that clearly in my travels, as well as the opportunities that exist for me when I'm out of the country, and just having a freer life, a less expensive life, and a richer life in general, I decided I'm out. So this year is the year that I'm moving. I'm leaving to Medellin, Colombia. I'm going to take myself and my family down, and I'm going to make my life there. So by make my life, I mean that's going to be my home base. I'm still going to be investing in real estate, still going to be running my home care agency, but I'll be doing it from Colombia. I don't know if you guys watch, there's a dude named Oliver Velez who's a stock trader that I actually, when I was trading stocks, I studied, because he teaches, he mentors, he does a lot for the industry as a stock trader. But he broke out to Medellin, Colombia, and he's been living his life there as well. And if you watch his videos, you see the dude is happier. He's happier living in Medellin. The lifestyle is just so much better. And if you're someone who's earning in US dollars, and you move to South America or Asia or Africa or Europe even, you'll see that your money's going to go a lot further. And you'll start to see that life in the United States is bullshit. Sorry that I cursed, but it is. It's designed to make you a worker for the man. And fortunately for me, I qualify as the man. But I know myself, I don't like working for the man. And it's designed to kind of keep you in that, not maybe by design, but the way that it works out is that you end up just being that way, working just to pay your bills, pay your house, pay your car, and doing that over and over and over again until you're 67, and then you don't even have enough money to live a comfortable retired life. You're out there working a part-time job in Dwayne Reed or something, just to supplement what your pension provides and what your 401k was supposed to provide. It's a disaster. And I know that's not something that I want to be a part of, and I felt the need to talk to whoever's watching to really show them that me, as a 36-year-old man, born and raised in New York City from immigrant parents, by just traveling a little bit and keeping my eyes open, was able to devise a pathway in my life to live in a way that best suited me. And I know that when you talk to people after they come back from vacation, they're like, oh man, I loved it in Mexico. I wish I could have just stayed there. I had to come back to this place. People will complain to you about their car bills, their mortgage bills, their rent, whatever, constantly. This is a constant complaint in the United States, that people wish that they were doing something else, but they can't because of their bills. And I refuse to be one of those people. And I anytime I hear somebody say that, like, oh, I can't because of this, I immediately start showing them. I was like, look, I think it's Nomad. I forgot the Nomad list or something like that. When I find it, I'll put the link in the description below. It's a website that shows you where in the world you can live as a nomad, like as a traveling person. And it shows you the cost of living in that city, how safe it is, what's the average internet speed, etc. And it'll give you some really good perspective as to how cheap it is to be in other parts of the world. And if you really can put a number on it, you could say, wow, with this number, my life would be good. Once you're able to set that goal of reaching that number, you'll start to figure out ways to do it, right? If I want to make $5,000 a month passively, how am I going to do that? You're going to first start to make 500, then 1,000, then 1,500, then 3 or whatever, and you'll eventually get to that. You just have to make the decision to do that. Now, maybe on this channel I'll start to document my journey on leaving the United States. If that's something that you find interesting, let me know. I could kind of improve the quality of the videos and make it a little more television-like, showing exactly what it's like, rather than me just talking here. I can show you house hunting and furniture shopping and kind of arriving into Medellin. So if that's something that you want to see, let me know in the comment section below. If you haven't already liked this video with me rambling on for about the past half hour, please do so. Hit that like button. Let me know that this is something that you're interested in. And if you're not already a subscriber, please take that time out to subscribe to ENTP Life. We mostly talk about real estate here, but it's a place that I feel that I can really talk about everything that I do in my life. And it's mostly going to be business related, because that's what that gives me kicks in life. So I like to problem solve. I like to kind of find these financial hacks, and I like to teach. So that's what you'll find mostly here on this channel. But every now and then I'll talk about who I am, what my life is like, and some of my other interests, and really try to expose you to what your life could be like if you just start saying, I'm going to do what I have in my mind, right? The dreams that I have, I'm going to make them reality by actually doing it. And I'm not going to allow people to naysay my ideas. I'm not going to allow that to happen, because at some point when Thomas Edison was saying, hey, I want to replace candles with this light bulb, people are like, you're crazy. When when Henry Ford was trying to mass produce automobiles and get the cost of automobiles down so that everybody could own one, people thought he was crazy. So if you have these bold ideas, or not even things that seem pretty basic to you, and people are naysaying them, just reference those guys in history that made their ideas real and made the world a different place, because they really didn't allow the naysayers to dictate what they're going to do with their time, right? And that's kind of a message that I want to keep alive here at ENTP Life, where I can show people that, one, there's a pathway to financial independence. That's not that difficult. Two, your ideas are the foundation for the life that you will live, and your ideas can become real as long as you put the work in. As long as you say, I'm going to do this, and you start doing it, you eventually actually get to your destination, right? If you plan it really well, then you get there without hitting the traffic. If you just kind of wake up and go out the door, then you're gonna come across traffic and some roadblocks, right? It's all about your planning. But by just doing, you eventually get there. But anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling on. Let me know what you thought about this video. Take care.